No longer can teachers be satisfied with students simply determining the main idea of a passage. Now, students must root their inference in textual evidence. This notion is often seen on a standardized test as a two-part question. In part A, they have to infer the main idea of a passage. Then in part B, they're provided multiple sentences from the original text, and they have to select which sentences support their answer to part A. So, what is evidence of a main idea? How do you teach this? I would start by reviewing 3 key terms. Remind them that the topic is simply the subject, what the passage is about. It's 1 or 2 words, whereas the main idea is always a sentence. It's the most important point that the author is making. The word or two of topic is in the main idea sentence, but the main idea is a more specific facet or perspective. Now, the evidence or details are actual words, phrases, and sentences that are in the original text, but repeated. Remember what we always tell students. When inferring the main idea, we tell them it's what the passage is mostly about. Well, if it's mostly about it, then it's referencing this same idea or concept in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. What do you mean by referencing? Literally, words and phrases that are repeated in the original text. We've got to get students to take note of what does the author keep mentioning. Once you have explained this concept to students, let's show them an example. I would identify some short newspaper article, something online perhaps, and show them the passage and the original title, the headline that came with it. Here's an example from Tween Tribune. It's titled, "Panda Cub is Ready for Public Debut." That's the main idea sentence. And supposedly, all of these sentences or details are mostly about that. What we want to do for students is model how that headline or title, how that main idea is appropriate for the passage. What I'm going to do is read the entire article, and I'm looking for all references to panda, cub, ready, public, and debut. Anytime those words or synonyms are referenced in the passage, I'm going to highlight it. Here we go. If the youngest giant panda cub at the National Zoo in Washington is stressed out about appearing in front of crowds for the first time, he isn't showing it. After reading that first sentence, I say, well, hey, youngest is about the cub, and giant panda cub tells me more about the type of panda. And this idea of appearing in front of crowds for the first time, debut is first time, crowds is in public. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm going to continue this process through the second paragraph, the third, the fourth, all the way through the entire short article. And I'm going to think aloud and show students how I'm justifying that main idea title is appropriate. By the time I'm done with this article, it looks something like this. And what I love is I can point out to students that if the main idea is appropriate, then those words, phrases, synonyms, and details are repeated in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the article. So evidence of a main idea includes literal words, phrases, and sentences that are repeated in the passage. Eventually, though, students have to do both part A and part B. So we need to give them a new, fresh article, a short newspaper article with no main idea title. They're going to have to stop and question what words, what phrases, what details are being repeated. And remember, it's not usually the same words over and over, but synonyms. That's when I'd have them grab their highlighter and begin to actually highlight those words and phrases, just as I did. Then, as they see which ones are continually referenced, those become the words and the phrases to put into a main idea sentence. When they've done that, they not only have the inference of the main idea, part A, but they also have all their highlighted evidence for part B.